I want to welcome you all to a very special episode of Squirrel Radio. Basically, this is the intro. I'm going to do my best to record an interview that's about to take place with my niece's 6th grade class. So my niece is 11 years old. She's in 6th grade at LaFargeville Central School in New York, and that's where I went to school from 6th grade on. And basically I was a valedictorian in my class, although I didn't start off very smart. I was actually in remedial classes for most of my career because I was just too focused on fucking around with the other students to actually give a shit. But, the material came easy to me. I was always very bright and very quick. But what I really, really like about this interview is that these kids would not even know that there is a country called New Zealand if Vera hadn't suggested to her teacher that they interview me. I'm going to try my hardest not to swear throughout this interview. I really have no idea what to expect. I guess the kids just came up with some questions. So it should be really, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. So, yeah. With that, I'll pause this intro, and then hopefully, without much kerfuffle, I will record the interview. Stay tuned. Hello?
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us so early in the morning.
Oh, it's not a problem.
We're here with all the 6th graders at LaFargeville.
Great.
And we know a little bit about New Zealand. We were just talking about how far away it is from New York. And we were wondering if we could learn a few things from you. We have some questions prepared, but whatever you would like to share with us, we'll be thankful.
Okay. Well,
Did you want to start with questions, or did you want to tell us a little bit about New Zealand or your life or whatever?
Well, I can say this. It's been a long time since I was in your shoes. I started LaFargeville when I was in 6th grade, and that's where I graduated from. And then I went on to college in Rochester and went on to graduate school in Denver, but it's always been a dream of mine to live abroad. And so when I was older, like 30, I decided to go to New Zealand. And so I moved here, and it was nice because it's not so different here. They still speak English, but they say a lot of different words, and the society and government's a little different, but it's really beautiful country. So it's a very interesting experience. And they really love American accents here.
So you started 6th grade at LaFargeville?
Yeah. That was when I moved to LaFargeville, was when I was in 6th grade.
What made you dream so big?
I don't know. My parents just always told me that if I wanted something and I worked hard enough, then I'd get it. So I guess I believed it. I tell Vera the same thing.
Nice. Can you see Vera in the front?
I sure can.
Vera, you want to ask your aunt a question?
It's hard to make up a question for her because I'm literally just like her, so it's hard.
We're very much alike.
Maybe we'll come back to Vera then. Is there a question for...
Oh, wait. So are you going to show us your passport or not?
Yeah, I'll show you my passport. I have my driver's license and my passport to show you guys, but unfortunately, because I'm showing it to you in a camera, it's gonna look backwards. But I'll show you my passport. This is something I recommend everybody get because it allows you to leave the U.S. I'm I'm not sure how old you have to be to get a passport, but it's something your parents can get for you when you're younger. But basically, when you travel, you will get a stamp everywhere that you land. You have to go through border control or customs, and they'll put a stamp in your passport. So, I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see like this little stamp here and that. So every time you enter and leave a country, they'll put a stamp in your passport. And most of these are for Germany, because I've been to Germany. I have one for London, more for Germany. But this is what my New Zealand resident visa looks like. So what allows me to live in New Zealand as a resident is just this piece of paper that they've put in my passport, so that if I leave the country and re-enter, it allows me to re-enter as a resident of the country. I also have another visa for India, because I worked in a job that I had to go to India to basically to help the site get ready for an inspection. So I spent a month in India. And for most countries, as an American, you can travel for 3 months without a visa, because America and the other countries are very much alike, and they just they allow you to travel in and out of the countries for 3 months as a tourist. But if you want to stay more than 3 months, then you have to have a visa to stay. Or if you want to work or be a student in the country, you have to have the correct visa to allow you to be there. And it's usually not very difficult to get these things. It just requires money and some time and paperwork. And then this is my driver's license, and I just got it, so I'm really proud of it. This allows me to drive on the left side of the road. Which was really strange at first, but now I'm just used to it.
Let me just clarify. In New Zealand, they drive on the opposite side of the road as we do. And the opposite side of the car. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, so that's why it doesn't seem that different, because, yeah, you're sitting in a different place. But almost every day, I turn my windshield wipers on instead of turning my signal light on, because the switches are reversed. Any questions?
I know someone has this question, but what do you do in New Zealand? What is your profession?
So, I work as a quality control chemist for a pharmaceutical company. So, basically, my company takes bile, which is made in the spleen. It's just an organ in the body, and we refine it back to what's called cholic acid, and it can be taken as a drug to clean your liver if you have liver problems. So the plant in the facility manufactures the cholic acid, but then I have to test it before we can sell it to our customers.
Wow.
It sounds a lot more impressive than it is.
And quality control makes sure that it's how it should be.
Absolutely. So it makes sure that we're selling what we say we're going to sell, and that it's pure and safe to take. Because the same laws that we have in the States, we also have here. So the FDA is actually coming to inspect our facility in New Zealand in a couple weeks. So if it's sold in the States, then the FDA has to inspect the facility whether or not it's in America. We're held to the same regulations as the United States. Yes, Vera?
Awesome.
I have a question. So you told me about how you guys were debating on getting a new flag.
Yes. That's a big debate in the country right now.
Did it happen or no?
It's an ongoing process. Basically, right now in New Zealand, people are concerned with two things. Rugby, because the World Cup rugby is going on, and the flag. So basically, if you look at the Australian and the New Zealand flag next to each other, there's only one difference, and it's the number of stars that they put in the Southern Cross. The Southern Cross is a star constellation that you can only see in the Southern Hemisphere. So, like, when I see the night sky, I can't see the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is no longer visible to me because I'm on the opposite side of the hemisphere. But now you can see, like, the Milky Way really well, and a constellation called the Southern Cross. So the Australian flag and the New Zealand flag look almost completely identical except for one additional star that the Australian flag has. So the current Prime Minister of New Zealand is trying to get that changed so that New Zealand has a more distinct flag. But a lot of the people here don't want to change it.
How about another question? If you have a written down question, maybe we could give those priority. And Summer, you want me to call on them or you want to do it?
Yeah, you go, fire away.
How about Ryan?
Do they have any different traditions in America?
So Christmas here is in the summer. So Christmas is a beach party in New Zealand.
That sounds like I like.
Yeah. So since it's two pretty small islands, it's not hard to get to a beach no matter where you live. And they spend Christmas barbecuing on the beach.
Wait, so that means for 4th of July it's winter.
Yes, but we don't have 4th of July here, honey, because that's America's Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
They go right from the 3rd to the 5th.
Yep.
Yeah, Alexis.
What do you do for fun in New Zealand, and what island do you prefer?
Oh, wow. I do a lot of things for fun. So here we call hiking tramping. So I tramp a lot, and they have a lot of huts in their forests. So you can spend weeks just walking from hut to hut along the ranges. New Zealand is a gorgeous country, and everybody stays outside as much as possible. Other than that, I really love the city I live in, Palmerston North, and I just spend a lot of my time just kind of walking around. Cafes are huge here, so a lot of people spend time just hanging out at cafes and talking with friends, but I like to go dancing. That's what I really do for fun. What island do I prefer? I can't really answer that yet because I live on the North Island. I landed on the South Island in Christchurch, but I was only there for a week before I got a job on the North Island. So I haven't got to see much of the South Island, but my mother is coming over to visit for Christmas, and we're going to take a vacation on the South Island. The South Island is very, very beautiful. The landscape is very different. It's almost all mountains. That's where Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit were shot, on the South Island.
So let me interrupt for a second. I know it's tough to see, but here is New Zealand, and you can see how it's divided into two islands, the North Island and the South Island. Someone had a question about the Hobbiton?
Hobbiton? Yep, I've been to Hobbiton.
Who has the question on that? Haley.
Is there a lot of fun things to do at Hobbiton?
Yeah, it was really, really cool. They basically preserved the entire movie set the way that it is. So we got to walk around and see all the houses, all the hobbit holes, and at the end of the tour, they let you have a drink at the Green Dragon, and they show you the party tree, like the tree from Bilbo's party at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Like they basically base the entire scene off of that tree. So you get to see all of that. It's a lot smaller than you think it would be. It's really amazing what they do with cameras and make it look a lot bigger than it actually is.
Is it urban or rural there?
Very rural. So the largest city in New Zealand is Auckland, and it has I think it's a third of the entire population of the entire country is in Auckland. But Auckland is still, by American standards, it's a very small city. I would compare it to Denver or Chicago, not even one of the bigger cities like New York or LA. Really, it's a series of extremely small towns. They call a highway here just, the road that you would take from LaFargeville to 81, they would call that a big highway. They don't have anything like 81 here. A 4-lane highway to a Kiwi would be completely inconceivable. So New Zealand doesn't have any natural mammals. There's really just birds here. Birds and insects. Really big, nasty-looking insects. One of the coolest things about New Zealand is there's no snakes. So there are no snakes here, and they do their best to keep all snakes from, like, ships or planes. They try to get rid of them as soon as possible. There are mammals here, like possums are a big problem here, but they've all been brought here. They're not native to New Zealand. The only animals really native to New Zealand are their birds. And they're really cool looking.
Since it's an island, are the shipping prices higher? Like if you were to get on the internet and order something, would the shipping prices be higher?
Yes. So my poor mother has to bring a suitcase full of things that just me and my friends want, because it's cheaper for us to order them and have them shipped to her in the U.S. and her to bring them over here. Things are very expensive here, and there's not a lot of variety because we're so secluded. But it's not horrible, but it is a lot different. Makes you realize that you take a lot for granted by living in the U.S. and how easy it is to get things that you want. Clothes are a lot more expensive here, and there's a lot less variety. As far as fruits and vegetables, you can really only buy what's in season and grown in New Zealand. It's very difficult to get produce from outside of the country.
Do you know any other movies or any TV shows that were shot in New Zealand?
Yeah, there was a lot more than I thought, to be honest. I didn't realize that the Chronicles of Narnia were all shot here. And basically any movie that has a lot of weaponry, like the swords that they use in Lord of the Rings, and a lot of the makeup stuff that they did in like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Chronicles of Narnia. A lot of them were made at Weta Studios, which is down in Wellington. And yeah, they did almost everything for those movies, and they have a lot of other stuff coming down all the movies being made right now, they all tend to use Weta Studios, which is I've been there. It's a pretty small studio in Wellington, and the things that they do is incredible. But it's one of the 5th largest production studios in the world, and it's the only one that's not in the U.S.
Grace?
There was a lunar eclipse recently, and we want to know if you could see it.
No. No, and I was kind of upset because it was all over Facebook, and I couldn't see it.
Why?
I'm on the wrong side of the world, basically. While the eclipse was happening, it was the day here.
Yeah, why?
What do you guys use most for transportation?
Cars. Because it's so rural, there's not a lot of public transportation. We have trains, but they don't really use them very much. Just cars and buses. It's really cheap to travel by bus here. You can take buses for like $1 from like all like across the entire country.
Liz?
Do you guys have, does your money look different than ours?
Yes, the money looks very, very different. I don't I don't have any to show you because you know, we use debit and credit cards here. But the money is really, really cool. If you get a chance to like look it up online, it's very colorful and there's transparent sections. It's hard to explain, but the money looks really cool.
Do you happen, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, do you happen to know the ratio of US dollar to New Zealand dollar? About?
I think it's, I want to say $1 US is probably like 67 cents. No, wait, I'm going the wrong direction. It would be like 133 New Zealand. The US dollar is worth more than the New Zealand dollar, which is why it's good to get US money here. Because, okay, so when I moved here, I converted 5,000 US dollars, and it was almost 8,000 New Zealand dollars. But what's unfortunate is that when I transfer money back, it shrinks. So that's not fun.
So $1 US dollar is equal to 1.33 approximately New Zealand dollars.
About. It's been pretty stable.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Joey.
Is there any cool or popular theme parks in New Zealand?
Oh, geez. I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. They're really big into bungee jumping and skydiving, and they have these sled tracks that are really popular, but I don't, because usually when Kiwis travel abroad, the first place they go is Disneyland, because they don't have anything like that here.
You said Kiwis.
Yeah. Kiwis are what you call people from New Zealand. They call themselves that, so they're Kiwis.
Robbins. Deb, you have a question?
Popular music, people that follow music, right, from here that are popular in New Zealand.
Yeah. For the most part, I didn't notice a difference with the music. They're a little bit behind, but they're a little bit behind here in everything, which is kind of what I like. But yeah, we listen to mostly the same music. We don't really have country music here, though. It's yeah, I know that excites a lot of people. It excited me too.
Why do you live so far away?
Your mom wanted us to ask that question.
Yeah.
But I'm teasing.
Well, Vera can tell you, I've always lived somewhere quite far. She's come to visit me in Denver at least 3 times, I think, when I lived there. Vera is one of the most well-traveled people in our family because she always comes to see me. I just kind of always grew up knowing that I wanted to experience different things, and I wanted to travel a lot. And New Zealand is just so beautiful, and it's not so populated, and things aren't so crazy here. So it's a really nice country. I honestly, with FaceTime and stuff like that, there's really no difference between me living in Denver and me living in New Zealand. I probably talk to Vera and the rest of the members of my family just as much as I always have.
I talk to you a lot.
Yes, you do.
Grace?
One of the teachers here talked about her vacation in New Zealand, and she said she saw a lot of hairy cows. they're actually dairy cows.
What kind of cows?
Cows that have
Hairy cows.
Oh,
Long
hairy
cows.
cows. Yeah, I saw one farm with them. It depends on where you are. Mostly, yeah, you see a lot of cows and sheep in general. But yeah, they do have those really, really big hairy cows with the huge horns. They're quite scary looking. but mostly you see a lot of sheep. There are literally sheep everywhere.
Just walking around the streets?
Not so much, but anywhere you drive, you're gonna pass a field full of sheep.
That's a lot.
Olivia?
What kind of sports do you have in New Zealand?
Oh my goodness, rugby. New Zealanders are crazy about rugby. Our team is called the All Blacks, and they just go crazy for rugby. Other than that, they're really into cricket, which is a more boring version of baseball, and it's much more complicated. Really the only sport that we share is what they call football, but what we call soccer.
Let Grandma know that she's doing the virtual tour thing with her. We'll probably disconnect her for 4 or 5
Maybe two more questions?
Okay, all right.
Would that be all right?
Yeah.
Couple more questions? Sky?
Have you met anyone from any of those movies from The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings since you've been there?
No, but funny enough, I met the guy who played Aragorn, his name is Viggo Mortensen, at the Salmon Run Mall one day. So I worked at the movie theater in the Salmon Run Mall. Do they still call it that? I don't know, the mall in Watertown. And his grandparents live in Cape Vincent, which is where I'm originally from. And so I met Viggo Mortensen right where you guys live. I haven't met anybody here, but I've met a lot of the guys that made the costumes and stuff.
What is the temperature there today?
Do you want me to tell you in Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Well, that sounds like a good ratio. Maybe you could tell us both. We'll use it
Sure.
tomorrow.
So I've gotten quite used to Celsius. So today it's getting warmer. I'm really excited. Today will be one of the warmer days that we've had because it's spring here. So it's the high is going to be 18 degrees Celsius, which I will ask my iPhone to convert. And that's about 64 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sure, that's not too
Nice. So that's a great ratio.
What's that like? The sand's good, the nuts,
Yep.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think the hairy cows are supposed to be called yaks. I'm pretty sure that they're called, but
Yaks are a little different. They're not hairy cows. I don't know what they call them. They could be a type of yak. I really don't know.
Well, Vera has to go. Did you hear about her big
I
audition?
know.
No,
You're gonna do
she wants
great.
she wants to say goodbye. And I think we'll all take the chance to say goodbye. And thank
Okay.
you very much for speaking with us from so
Of
far away.
course. Bye, guys. Love you, Vera. Bye, guys. Thank you. Be good. Well, that went pretty well, I thought. I didn't swear once. Cute kids. Well, yeah. As cute as you can expect. That's awful. All right. It's 7 o'clock. I have the rest of the day. Oh, Lord. All right. I hope that was enjoyable for everybody to listen to. I enjoyed listening to their questions. They had some good questions. They're good kids. I just hope it instilled in any of them that they can travel and they can do what they want to do. And they don't have to be so afraid about leaving LaFargeville or New York. So, there you have it. Squirrel Radio interview with 6th graders from a podunk town in New York on the Canadian border.